Hello. Welcome to the show. I am Maya Anderson, Deputy Director of the Podcast Department, and this week we are talking about the very first episode of a Michael Shur classic sitcom, Parks and Recreation. I personally have been favorably and unfavorably compared to the lead heroine of the show, Leslie Knope. Lorelle is a woman all her own and cannot be compared to a single character in this show. However, I do consider her to be my Ann Perkins in many ways. On that note, friends and fans, let us dive into the pilot episode of Parks and Recreation. Did this set the tone for the show to come? Or were drastic changes made that resulted in the show we now know and love? Let's find out on this week's episode of Effing It Up. Welcome back, feral listeners. It is episode 4. We made it. We've made it this far. I haven't lost my energy in the midst of crippling seasonal depression that is inevitable when January rolls around. But we're here.
Personally, this weather only increases my power, so I can't relate.
That's because Lorelle is a witch, and it's not to be trusted. What are you going to do about that, huh? A witch?
I mean, I'll just erase your memory of this conversation since I can't have people knowing about my secrets.
Good luck. My memory's like a bear trap.
My memory's terrible. I won't remember to erase your memory.
Oh, I know. I'm counting on it.
Do we have any thoughts on our history with Parks and Rec? Do you have a history with Parks and Rec?
I have a deep and
sordid,
very sensual past. When No, I watched Parks and Rec I think maybe a couple months after I finished The Office, and just watched through the whole thing, and I was like, oh, this speaks to me on many levels. I watched the whole thing probably twice.
You've got more stamina than I. I've never seen every episode of any sitcom that I can think of. Even my favorite ones like Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Just remember, Lorelle, I was homeschooled and had a lot of time on my hands.
I was also homeschooled and had a lot of time on my hands, but I was watching Numbers off of Chinese streaming websites. The TV show Numbers, not just...
I know.
Not just Numbers.
I know what you meant. I'm
not just watching 17, 38 and a half.
I don't know which is worse out of the two.
Which one's nerdier?
Yeah. Both are pretty nerdy.
It's okay. We don't have to compete. We can combine our nerdiness to become one superpowered nerd.
Like a nerd cluster.
Like a Voltron, yeah. Like a nerd version of a Voltron.
Like a nerd rope with the
with
sticky gummy stuff in the middle. Nerd the candy.
Oh.
So you said nerds, I said nerd cluster.
Are you perhaps thinking of Twizzlers? Not the same thing.
No, Nerd's rope, it's just this gummy red string, and it's just got nerds.
Are you perhaps thinking of Twizzlers?
I'm sorry, Lorelle, do Twizzlers have nerds stuck to the outside of them?
Depends on who's eating them.
Oh! Oh, that was good.
On to my history.
Yeah, talk about your history.
I'm done talking about candy. You know I don't like candy.
Yeah.
Except for Hershey's chocolate. Yeah,
why are we friends?
I will stand by that.
Okay.
Best chocolate.
Please, you've been to another country. You've been to another European country. Do not tell me Hershey's is the best chocolate.
I've had German chocolate, and I still prefer Hershey's.
Good.
Bite me.
God, woman. Oh my gosh. Just talk about your Parks and Rec history.
Yeah, I don't really have one. So, moving on to plot. Maya's so happy that she's chosen to do a podcast with me.
Better you than anybody else.
Right now. She's not questioning her decisions at all, even a little bit.
No, that'd be ridiculous.
What's the plot of episode 1, Maya?
This is where I start
I'm being professional.
This is where I start to wonder if Lorelle actually watched the episode, or if she's trying to get away with just pretending like she watched it.
Okay, listen. I watched the episode a while ago, and then as we were approaching recording date, T-minus, whatever, I realized I couldn't remember a single thing that happened in the episode. So I multitasked and I watched it again tonight while I made dinner. Which I didn't eat because we're getting pancakes afterwards.
So similar to what I did with Firefly.
Yeah.
Which I got yelled at for.
Well, you didn't finish the episode, so.
Yeah, because it was a shit episode, Lorelle.
And it was also like 3 hours long, whereas the Parks and Rec was 20 minutes long. That's the only reason.
Mercifully 20 minutes long.
So I can tell you the plot of episode 1 if you don't know, because I think this was an elaborate gaslighting. Reverse psychology.
You don't have an Uno reverse card. You can't do that right now.
I think that Maya's the one who hasn't seen the episode, and that was just her like Moriarty level like psychological game to get me to tell her what the episode is about.
I gave you my number. I'm so sad you didn't call.
That's a really good BBC Sherlock's Moriarty impression.
It's like, I can only do weird impressions.
I was just reading a manga about Moriarty, but that's not interesting.
Nerds on a rope.
Nerds on a rope. The plot of episode 1. It basically, there isn't really one. It introduces a bunch of characters and a pit.
Yeah.
And that's about it. But it's fine.
I just need to store that away in my memory and put that quote as just our synopsis for this episode. It introduces a bunch of characters and a pit.
I mean, I think that sums it up.
That's accurate. I'll say this. I went into this thinking that the first episode was going to be awful. Because I remembered I don't love the first season of The Office. I find it...
Most Americans don't.
I'm like, it's not a vibe.
Humor.
Not a vibe for me. I like British humor a lot.
Oh, okay.
But I do not like whatever that was. I don't like Americans imitating British humor.
That's fair. I think the British sense of humor should just be eradicated completely. And they should stop making cinema. Just kidding. Just kidding. I would live and die for Stephen Merchant. He's the only one and that is allowed to continue making stuff. Can we move on? Yes. I don't think there's anything to say about plot, if I'm being honest. The plot is really just setting up the characters. Don't you think?
I agree with you. I have something that I can say for it.
Tell me about the plot.
Yeah. I'm thinking...
But see, someone falls into the pit, but that doesn't even happen on screen unless you count when Leslie does it. It's all just set up.
Yep.
Go on. I won't cut you off.
Just kidding. Really? Really? Can I talk?
How old is this bit? When I say I won't cut you off and then...
So, when I went into this, again, what I remembered was it being an awful first episode. Because genuinely, I put this on the list because I thought it was a terrible pilot episode for a TV series. I thought it was going to be, absolute garbage. I remember Leslie being incredibly cringy, and I remember not being engaged or interested. But I watched it, and I was like, okay, I see all the little seeds that they were starting to plant, even if they didn't know the exact direction they wanted the characters to go in, even though they really evolved the characters a lot. They were, the cornerstones.
It's a lot of seeds, too.
Yeah. But, some of the main cornerstones that stood out to me were Anne and Leslie's friendship. Just... Mm-hmm. They're we're starting it off now, in this first episode, and it's going to have longevity. And I think Leslie's wide-eyed enthusiasm and tenaciousness.
Tenacity?
Leslie's wide-eyed enthusiasm and tenacity.
You're so verbose.
Don't speak to me for the rest of the episode.
Fine. Do it on your own.
So mean to me.
No. I said I would. I said I would be. I said I've been too nice and it's time to get back to the brand.
Well, then I'm going to start crying all the time.
Oh, no.
And I know that makes you uncomfortable.
It does. Even just saying the word.
Mm-hmm. I might as well be naked.
It's true, right?
What would make Lorelle more uncomfortable, crying or nudity?
It's a toss-up, frankly.
Anyway,
yes.
As you so eloquently stated, There's
As
no
you so eloquent. Oh.
There's no dang plot. Can we just skip ahead and talk about characters?
Please,
'Cause
all
that's
I want to
they
do
did.
is talk about characters. I was just, like, slogging through plot so we could get to the characters.
Okay, anyway, sorry guys if you wanted to talk about the plot of the first episode. There really isn't one. It is the setup for the rest of the show. There isn't a huge plot establishment except for the pit, which arguably is a huge plot point for almost the entirety of the series. So,
Which is hilarious as a reflection on how slowly government gets stuff done. And it wouldn't get done at all if it wasn't for Leslie, who keeps pushing. I would say the plot of the first episode is a bunch of government people, except for one, who hate their jobs, and the citizen who brings to their attention the pit in their backyard that needs to be filled in.
onward to talking about characters. Would you like to hear my notes, Lorelle? Because I think your
Not
notes...
really. No, I do. Go on. No, I do.
No, please! Please, go over.
I want to hear your notes. I love you dearly.
Well, now I don't want to talk about them. No, I'm done now. I give up.
Fine. So you said that you've been...
What?
Read your darn notes, woman. I'm gonna self-combust.
Okay, I said despite Leslie's initial Michael Scottness in this episode, because as they were thinking of this show, they were like, oh, female Michael Scott, great. She's kind of endearing.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought I remembered her being really annoying, but she's still incredibly likable.
Oh, yeah.
She's, I quoted, it's more than a promise. It's a pinky promise.
Honestly, you know how I said I didn't really laugh at the Friends pilot?
Yeah.
I laughed a lot at the Parks and Rec, and most of it was because of Leslie.
100%.
She's hilarious.
When she's trying to, like, jam the drunk out of the slide with a broom. Sir, time to go. You gotta get out of here.
Not gonna lie, I think the first laugh that was elicited by the show was the very first lines of Leslie being like, would you say that you are moderately entertained and having a, normal amount of fun? Whatever she does when she, like, tries to give the child to do, like, a performance review of the playground. I was already sold.
It's a testament to Amy Poehler because she clearly had a pulse on the character even if they didn't know where they were going really with the characters.
It's true.
So honestly, I think
funny in the very first lines of dialogue, and that's hard. That's hard to do when your comedy is entirely character based because you need to know the characters to find them funny. Usually, she pulls it off from the get go.
The Second City Theater Troupe really just prepared Amy Poehler for this moment.
Is that her theater troupe?
I read Tina Fey's book.
I did too, but I don't remember it. You know me. I also read Amy Poehler's book, and I don't remember it. So.
I did not read Amy Poehler's book yet. I just know they were in the same improv theater group in Chicago.
They probably both wrote about it.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Well, Amy got bumped to the good one, and Tina was stuck on the road.
Oh, no!
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, go on, finish your thoughts.
Anyway, I really like Ann Perkins as kind of the straight man character. I know there's a lot of, like, divisive opinions about Anne, but I think she adds...
Oh, I like her.
I love her. I think she adds, like, a lot of grounding to the show, and when she goes crazy, it's especially entertaining because she's the straight man character.
You need a straight man character in a comedy. I would never, ever cut you short, Maya. So before I proceed, do you feel you have adequately shared your thesis on the characters? Because I respect you, both as a person and as a podcaster.
What are you talking about? Would you?
I just wanna make sure that you've said your piece before I jump in. Because I feel like that's what a respectful co-host.
A respectful co-host would listen to me when I say, here's the plan for how we're going to pick this up from where it cut off.
I'm listening. She's microwaving my insides with that glare right now. I'm boiling inwardly.
Instead of doing your virtue signaling like a white woman.
What's my being white got to do with anything? Anyone can virtue signal.
But no one does better than a white woman.
And that's why I'm so good at it. All right. What were we talking about?
We're talking about characters.
I just wanted to say, so it's interesting because I didn't think about it until you brought it up. But it's really interesting that the driving relationships, like the heart and the warmth, and really like the soul of this show comes from the platonic relationships between Leslie and Anne and their friendship, and also really even more to me, I love the relationship between Leslie and Ron. I
love Leslie and Ron.
They're so different. They see the world so differently. They're completely different people in personality and in politics.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they are there for each other. They are ride or die besties. And I just love that for them.
It's beautiful. Also, like, Ron and April.
Oh my word, yeah. So cute. No, it's cute. Yeah, I just feel like we can only talk about the pilot since we've made that our box for the season. But
I hate boxes. I regret them.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, cubes. I don't. But but it's just interesting that you can see so much craft and care was put into making these characters who they are, and I think to a great deal that the actors portraying the characters influenced the characters' depiction.
Yeah. And
you can tell that there are things planned. Like, again, since we can't talk about the whole series, we can't talk about the differences between where the characters start and where they end. I mean, we can, but...
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want. But it's just, there's so much nuance and humanity, I guess, to these characters.
Yeah.
Just, it's good stuff, man. It's really good character writing. And I don't mean to disparage sitcoms, but I do think that Greg Daniels and Michael Shur kind of ushered in a new wave of comedy.
Yeah.
With,
they
like,
definitely
really nuanced characters and characters that develop over time.
Yeah. Like, it's so light and fluffy and silly, but there's, like, all the heart and, like, the reality of human emotion.
Yeah.
All at the center of it, holding it all together.
I watched a couple of videos from, I think the channel's called Behind the Curtain. I watched them before we came to do the podcast, and one was about Parks and Rec and one was about The Office.
You watched another channel about movies?
Forgive me! And they're really good, but not that we are, but anyway. I would never say that there's a channel out there that's better than what we're doing.
Thank you, Lorelle.
But he just talked about how it was someone who worked on the show. I don't actually remember who. Maybe it was Michael Shur talking, but he said that they always made sure that there were maybe it was just 60 seconds of time where the characters weren't making jokes. They were just being human. They were just being people. And I think
beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and it comes through because you don't feel like you're just watching silly cartoons.
Yeah.
Which, silly cartoons are fun also.
Absolutely.
But you do need, you don't need, but if you bring in that warmth and that humanity, it's just a whole different experience. And it's one that I prefer.
Just to jump later down the line, because now I feel like breaking my own box rule.
Yeah,
but it's
the box rule.
It's super fun when Tom Haverford is being Aziz Ansari and being insane and going, "Baby, I'm sorry, I miss you," and then immediately, like in another episode, being like, "I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I want to pursue these things, and I don't know how to do it."
It's so exciting and rewarding to see where they go, though, because they start out, and it's not the kind of thing where, not to keep throwing friends under the bus, but where, like, Joey just becomes stupider and stupider without any reason behind it.
Yeah.
It's a logical evolution that feels very true to real life.
Yeah.
Like the way that people do develop over time and change over time.
And the way that people come in and out of your life and affect you for the better, affect you for the worse.
Yeah. And, yeah, I love it. Love a good character arc. Also, I did not know Tom had a wife in episode 1. That surprised me.
Yeah.
Makes him even more of a sleazebag for hitting on Anne.
Well, yeah, but a couple episodes later, you find out it's a green card marriage.
Oh!
Spoilers!
Funny.
Spoilers,
I mean, I probably knew that and forgot that, in keeping with my established character traits.
Yes.
Which I cannot, grow.
You cannot deviate from them.
I am not allowed to
deviate.
The
audience wouldn't recognize you.
Yes, that's part of the bit. I'm not allowed to deviate from that established character trait. I don't want to alienate the audience. But anyway, so I wrote for Tom. I just wrote gross in episode 1, little pinky face.
Yeah, I wrote Tom is disgusting. I like him better when he's just Aziz Ansari.
But I love all the other characters, including Andy. I know you don't like him. He is obnoxious in episode 1, but knowing that he gets better.
Yeah, no, I do too. Again, I was boxing myself in for this.
But even... Because let's be real, I can't watch episode 1 without knowing the rest of the series. And because I know where his character goes, I don't hate Andy in episode 1. That being said, I do hate Tom in episode 1.
I hate Andy in episode 1 because I remember that I hated him in episode 1 when I watched it for the very first time.
I think...
I was like... This lazy nightmare man-child is
who wants his girlfriend to mother him.
Yes, it's
repugnant.
It's too close to home.
It's repugnant in every way.
It's not something I feel like reliving ever.
It's what I think is interesting is that he's not malicious, but he's inconsiderate.
Yes, and let's not forget all the times Andy demonstrates his weaponized incompetence.
Yeah, very well portrayed. Very.
If you feel like maybe your partner is enacting weaponized incompetence against you, just watch season 1 of Parks and Rec to see how Andy Dwyer treats his live-in girlfriend Anne.
There's this little moment where in like the very first scene where Anne stands up and she's like, I'm here, I don't really like government, and everyone claps.
Yes.
And she's like, anyway, there's this pit in our neighborhood, and my boyfriend fell in the pit. He's a musician, I support him, whatever. It's just this little moment of being like, she's clearly not happy with the way things are. He's a musician, but I support him, whatever. It's so funny, and it is so, like, again, it's just so real. Like, the comedy of this show just really comes from... from knowing... how real it is.
I think, do you want to skip down to...
Yeah, let's skip.
Oh, real quick. Atmosphere. Yeah. I love that it's like a small, kind of half rural town with a horrific history. Like,
with a horrific
history, with like most small towns in the Midwest or anywhere in the U.S.
Think about it too hard.
That's just a layered bit into the show that I really love.
I love that they continue to explore that too. Like, it's not just a one-off kind of passing joke. Are we talking about atmosphere now?
Yeah. I was just going to go through it really fast. That was my one thing that I wanted to say about it. I love the small town with a horrific history. I love that first.
I also wrote the setting small town Indiana government, and then I wrote the mural LOL. But I think it was kind of inspired to do it in a small... Is Indiana Midwest? Would that be accurate to call it a Midwestern town? American geography. Super awesome. Anyway, I just think it was really smart to set it there rather than in, like, New York government. Who cares?
Yeah. No. It's the small town. Everybody cares too much about everything. It's like if you will.
Yeah. And the last note I wrote on the atmosphere was actually funny, and I think that was a dig at Friends. I'm sorry if you love Friends.
It's okay. I stand by our friends' opinions.
Yeah.
I want to move into other because that's where more of my notes are. Let's move into
other.
I think that the cold open with Leslie pushing the trunk down the slide is impeccable. Everything about that bit from start to finish, right, like when you were saying with her talking with the little girl and trying to like have her complete the survey.
You know so much in just that little bit.
It's the enthusiasm too.
Like, it tells you so much about the character and about the world that she lives in.
Yes.
Like, it's just...
And she's like, it's a very glamorous job.
She's delightful. You say you find her kind of annoying in episode 1. I love her in episode 1.
No,
like,
I remembered having the perception of like, oh, I'm going to go back and watch it and she's going to be annoying.
But you didn't think so.
No, I was like, wait, I love you.
Right? I know, right?
I'm like, you care so much.
Honestly, I love just seeing an optimistic character thrown into situations that should kind of beat
Break
the optimism out of them, and then they just stick to it.
Like I'm gonna help you.
I just think that's really cool.
We're gonna fill in the pit. And we're gonna put a park on it.
I feel like we need more media like that, because so much media now is cynical.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Not to keep talking about English comedy. But
Lorelle, there's already one too many jokes I'm gonna have to cut out of this.
It's fine. I just think that yeah, you're gonna like edit it down to 2 minutes. I just think that so much, not just comedy, modern cinema, modern storytelling, modern narrative is so cynical. Like, they think you're somehow you see the world more clearly if you're cynical about it.
Yeah.
I think that's bollocks. And I
say.
I think it's one-dimensional. Like, yeah, there are dark things in the world, and it can be depressing sometimes, but there are also good things in the world. There are also warm things in the world. You know what? I actually don't have any notes in other except for what we've already talked about.
Yeah, we were just talking about the public as a character.
Oh, yes, the public as a character. They suck.
Yep. They're terrible. They're the worst.
Pass.
You're saying it passed?
Pass. Swipe whichever direction. I don't know.
I thought you were skipping ahead to pass fail.
Oh, yeah. No, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, are we ready for that?
We are ready for that.
Are we done?
Want to eat pancakes, Lorelle.
You know what I just realized?
What?
The public is listening to this episode.
Well, the public... No.
Yeah, you can't say that on our podcast.
No. I would have to bleep out all the words.
I say easily a pass. I thought it was hilarious. Well, I thought it was fun. I don't want to be hyperbolic over here.
I also thought it passed, which is interesting because I really thought this one was going to fail, based on my memory of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but no. Solid pass.
Solid pass. So, the opinions of the 2 most important people in the universe have been declared. Parks and Rec is a pass.
Put your hand down. Stop.
Look a little.
Stop hailing.
Okay, you know, what if I just do both? Is that better?
No, that's just higher.
Opinions of the most important people. What if I just, in the world, in the universe.
You've been very problematic in this
multiverse.
Anyway.
Far more important than Hitler. Our opinions.
Anyway, if you have not watched the entirety of Parks and Recommendation. I almost said Parks and Recommendation.
Even better.
Anyway, if you guys have not watched the entirety of Parks and Recreation, it comes highly recommended by us. The pilot season is actually...
It's moderately to highly recommended from Lorelle. Save my high recommendations for science fiction.
Save the high recommendations for when we actually get high for this podcast.
I don't think that would be good for the content. I think I would just fall asleep.
Probably. We'd probably both fall asleep.
Yeah.
At least we'd be having fun. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in again for episode 4. We're just going to keep these rolling right along. As always, you can find us on Instagram at effing it up, but you can watch us on YouTube, and you can find all of our episodes from season 1 and now season 2 on Spotify.
Leave a like and a comment in the Spotify app.
That's not, you can't do that.
In order to
That's
send...
not a real thing.
Fund Maya's... What are you gonna need? Prozac after doing this with me?
I'm already on Prozac, Lorelle.
Alright, to fund Maya's weed. She's gonna need something after sitting in a room with me.
As always, guys,
she needs some Hershey chocolate.
thank you for listening, and keep it feral.
I was feral today.
You were so feral.